Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to be building another Windows XP tower. Now, I had some different plans for how this video was going to go, but due to some hardware failures, boards not working, or CPUs not working, or RAM not working, it did not go the way I intended to go at all, but it ended up being a blast anyway, and I've had a lot of fun with it. So let's just get into it and get to building. So as I've said before in previous videos, I was mostly a console gamer in the 2000s when I was growing up. Consoles like the NES, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, the GameCube, and the Wii. And as a result, unless those games were released on the home consoles, I never really got a chance to play them since, well, early in the 2000s, our home computer was a gateway that was powered by Windows Millennium, woefully underpowered, and apparently from what we were told and believed, not really all that upgradable. Or my mom's laptop that she got in the late 2000s, which really didn't want to clog up that hard drive with a bunch of random PC games, so unfortunately, I never really got a chance to play an entire era of PC games, even though a lot of them looked really cool from what I could see from, well, commercials and game reviews that I saw, well, online. I really wanted to play some of these XP era titles, so I decided to try and, well, track down a Windows XP computer, which I eventually finally did. Did end up coming across a Windows XP machine. Unfortunately, this thing right here was absolutely hot garbage. So I picked up a Intech case, some parts, and got to work. And even though I didn't build it quite correctly the first time, I made a few mistakes and I had some hardware issues, I ended up with a pretty good rig. This gorgeous beauty here. And it turned out phenomenally well. I love the way it turned out, the way it performed, and handled a whole bunch of things, games, and even some software I've played with lately. Games like Unreal Tournament 2004, Monolith's Fear, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Fallout 3, and the PC melter itself, Crysis. It ended up with a MSI P31 Neo motherboard, an Intel Core 2 Quad Q6600, an MSI 8800 GTS 640 megabytes of VRAM, an Otter G2 ZS, an Overkill 4 gigabyte of DDR2 800 megahertz RAM, and a 80 gigabyte Western Digital Raptor hard drive at 10,000 RPM. Yes, even though this machine turned out phenomenally well, this machine kind of targeted more of the late end of Windows XP, and with that, even it targeted more of the mid-range. About 2007, 2009, with Windows Vista and 7 were basically already out. Windows XP was still highly relevant and still widely used, but for this video, I wanted to do something a lot different. I wanted to focus more on the early eras of Windows XP, 2001 to about 2005, because there was a lot of really quickly evolving hardware during that time. The Athlon XPs, the Thunderbirds, the Athlon MPs, the Athlon 64X2s, the early Pentium 4s, the Socket 478 Pentium 4s, the hyper-threading technology that was out. Plus, I also want to play with some AGP cards, and maybe some more exotic types of AGP cards. I wanted to try some different things with this video, but yeah, unfortunately, things just did not turn out that well. Okay, so I have to change some gears with the PC plan here. All right, so my original plan was to build an Athlon XP based machine, except for the fact that all of my Socket 462 boards are all dead. Not a single one of these posted. I have like 12 Athlon XP CPUs. This one, it's either this one or this one supports the Thunderbirds. These all support Barton cores. These two, I think, support, or maybe there's this one, supports the Thunderbird core. None of these. None of them boot, none of them post, nothing. All they do is just spin the CPU fan full speed. No video, no nothing. So I either have all 4 dead boards, 12 dead CPUs, or 30 dead RAM sticks that are DDR based, that I have proven that are not dead. So, okay, so with plan A dead, plan B was me using this. This is an MSI K8MM-V, a lovely micro ATX board with checked all the boxes. DDR1, it had AGP, We had SATA, which I didn't need, but IDE. This would have been just fine. So I popped in an Athlon 64, I believe a 3000 plus, installed XP onto an SSD just to test it out. I ran PC Mark 06 benchmark. It worked great. It held stable. It was fine. Integrated video is no big deal. The EGP slot works. All three of these worked because I tried some sound cards on all three and they all three worked. This was going to be the build, except when I went to start building, I noticed a little bit of bulging caps, bulging cap, leaking cap. And yeah, it surprisingly held up, but I just don't want to be in the middle of using this thing, recording or even gaming, and poof. And then so I'm going to recap this board and use this for a later XP build. On to Plan C. So Plan C was to go a little bit newer. I wanted to go AMD for this build. That was my original intention with the Socket A platform. And this was really pushing it because this was basically right around the same era-ish as my last XP build goal, which was 07, 08-ish. This is a Gigabyte M55 SLI-S4, a Socket AM2, which uses DDR2. We have SATA. We have PCI for SLI. And this would have been near perfect. I mean, 6-channel audio, it would have been fine. Except this cooling thing here did not work. And this thing would not, it posted, but the RAM it posted with didn't make sense. Like, it posted with DDR2, but it wouldn't post with 2 sticks of RAM. Not a game breaker, but for some reason, if I put 2 sticks in, it wouldn't boot at all. So there's something weird with the board. I need to do some investigating. Maybe the RAM stick I was using was bad, or whatever, but I got in. Future build. So, on to Plan D. Plan D was to go to Intel again and go to Pentium 4 with their single cores. We have the Asus P4V55.MX, and we have the Gigabyte GA8ST800 P4 Titan. This uses the VIA chipset, this uses the SIS chipset. These two boards would have been perfect. DDR1 support. This one I believe was maxed at 2 gig. This was maxed at 3 gig. We have both universal AGPs, plenty of expansions. No SATA on either one. Perfect. Except I can't find any of my retaining brackets for Pentium 4. I found one cooler with the wires chewed off or broke off from, I think it was a e-waste run. So I don't have a cooler for Pentium 4. So Plan D here was a failure. So Plan E, well, kinda, technically, sorta, was to do something like this. So this is the FA13 Socket 370 board, and I thought, hey, why not just use a Pentium 3? Make a very early, almost pre-XP era XP machine from the year 2000. 1 gigahertz Pentium 3, AGP, 2X, plenty of expansions, plus ISA for sound cards. Would have been great, perfect, awesome. I believe this board holds, I believe this board is 2 gigabyte max, maybe 1 gigabyte max, I think. But I don't know. I have a specific build for this board for a year 2000 build that involves not XP. So I had to go with what I went with, which was that the parts I'm going to show you, because this was really annoying testing all of these boards and nothing working. So with all my original plans basically out the window, involving any single core or dual core stuff, I decided to, just say screw it and go deep into my notebook of ideas and find a, more exotic build that was still around this era, but more along of the high end of this era of builds. And I started to start here, an EVGA board. Specifically, this is the EVGA 122-CK-NF68 board, part of the NVIDIA 680i SLI boards from roughly, I think, 2007, 2008. This board is gorgeous and perfect, and I absolutely love it. An LGA775 socket, 4 DDR2 RAM slots, ATX power supply, plus 8-pin CPU power. We have IDE, SATA ports, Molex connector for power, floppy, more SATA ports, 3 PCIe 16 slots, 2 PCI slots, and some PCIe 1X slots. PS2, Firewire, USB, 6-channel audio, dual gigabit LAN. For the CPU, I decided to go with a Core 2 Quad Q9650. Yeah, a little bit different from my last build, but I think it's going to be more than enough power for me. Plus, it's a bit overkill, but it's fine. For a cooler, I found this neat looking tower cooler online. It was marketed to be for the LJ 775 platform. Plus, it had the plastic backing plate that came with it, so extra bonus. Copper base, heat pipes, and an internal 90mm fan that can be replaced. For RAM, I thought I'd try this out. This is NVIDIA SLI branded DDR2 800MHz RAM. Pretty weird. I've never actually come across this before, but I found a few sticks of it. Never heard of SLI RAM, but apparently looking it up, it's not the best RAM in the world. There was some marketing things with it, but I have 4 sticks of 1GB, which should work out pretty good. If those don't work, I do also have these OCZ Platinum RAMs. Oh, these are gorgeous, and they're the exact same specs as the SLI RAM, which should mean they should be equal in performance. We'll have to see some benchmarks. And I also have 4 matching 1GB sticks. So yeah, I should have the same power as my last XP rig. For audio, I decided to go with another Audio G2 ZS. I was going to go with XFI this time, but I can't find the sound card. Plus, this way I can get the same type of sound that I had in my last one with EAX audio and all the ports and expansions, including those gorgeous gold ports and F Firewire port. For hard drive, another 80GB Western Digital hard drive, a Raptor drive. I would do 2 of these, but unfortunately, I don't want to deal with RAID drivers and RAID, and I don't even know if my other one works. Not 1, but 2 NVIDIA 8800 GTs. These are 512MB cards that I picked up from somewhere. Single slot design, blower design, and they should be a little bit more powerful than the previous ones, as the specs here show that they are a little bit faster than the previous 8800 GTSs that I put in the previous XP rig. So yeah, 2 of them in SLI should equal up to about 1GB of VRAM, which is going to be overkill, but hey. For power supply, I decided to go with an LSP Ultra 750 watt power supply. A little bit older one, but it should have more than enough power to run this whole rig. In fact, it has all the expansions, ATX, power, PCI power, CPU, 8-pin, 6-pin, plenty of 6 pins. And all the Molex and SATA connectors I could ever want and need for this rig. And here is the case, the NZXT Apollo Silver that I picked up a while ago. This thing is absolutely gorgeous, and after cleaning it up and polishing some stuff up, it looks amazing. The chrome's polished, the black plastic is clean, and everything just looks outstanding, and even has a Pentium sticker, which is quite fitting. Opening the front door reveals 4 5.25 expansion bays with 1 already populated with an LG drive and 1 3.5-inch drive bay, which I'm not going to fill up right now. Plus Firewire, USB, and mic stereo out there. Getting off the side panel, we find a blue LED 120mm fan that is powered by Molex. Not a fan of that, but it's fine. Quick connect stuff for quickly changing out the drives. The hard drive rails, which is really nice to have because I can't find them anywhere. Molex power for the LEDs, and I did replace that really noisy crunchy fan. Another NZXT 120mm fan that's gross. Junk. With a later LED style fan. All right, let's get to building.
Okay, so we've got the new XP tower hooked up to where the old one was. Hooked up to, well, there's just some spare peripherals I had kind of laying around. When I was reorganizing this room, I misplaced some of the adapters for some of the more retro speakers, and I kind of wanted to try out this HP monitor I picked up at some point. It's neat. I don't like the glossy look, but anyway. Yeah, in case you're wondering, the old XP tower is right there. Like I said, I had to borrow the CPU cooler out of it to get this one up and running because turns out the tower cooler I bought had the wrong mounting plate for these older style cases, which is kind of weird. But anyway, let's hit the power button and see what happens. Ooh. Oh, that looks cool. Running really fast in there. Okay. There's a lot of stuff here. Can I get into the BIOS though? Like, what's... Well, that is a lot quieter. And oh no, the sound card and the second video card's missing. But oh, hey, look, we got past that PCI thing. So we have some information here. The NVIDIA BIOS, main processor, Intel Core Quad CPU at 3 gigahertz. We have the memory testing 4 gigabyte. Okay, which means all 4 sticks are detecting. That's awesome. With the Q9650 at 3 gigahertz. BIOS supported. EM64T CPU. A slide ready memory detected but disabled. Oh no. I'm about to take a... Okay, what I might do is I might benchmark with 4 sticks and then switch it out to 2 and then benchmark with the platinum. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to do the platinum yet. I might do that in a different video. Something's weird with this. Floppy disk fail at 40. But hey, it's working. Okay, so I spent the past half hour messing with this thing, trying to figure out what was going on, why it basically was stopping at that DMA PCI thing. And so I started to just remove some cards. I removed the sound card so I could get this one out. And as soon as I pulled this card out, it was able to pass that and get straight into this Phoenix Award BIOS post screen. And I'm able to get into the BIOS now. This card was the one that was running the fan at full speed while it was kind of noisy. So I popped this into slot 1, and it gave me a very mad, very angry warning speaker tone. And a LCD code, according to EVGA site, that a VGA failure basically. So this card is dead, which absolutely freaking sucks because I was really wanting to run SLI in this rig because that's kind of the whole point of this build was I wanted to do something that I'd never experienced before, even back then or even now, because SLI is kind of basically dead. But I don't have another one of these low-profile 8800 GT. I think this is a GT, if I remember correctly. When I do the voiceover stuff, I'll look it up and see remember what it is. But yeah, I don't think I have any other video cards that I have duplicates of, so I can run SLI. I will actually go check real quick. I know I have some other NVIDIA 8800 GTSs, the bigger blower style ones, the old school classic ones, but I think they're both dead, and I believe if one does work, it's only 320 megabyte, which is fine, that'll work, but that means I have to track down another 320 megabyte 8800 GTS. So I'll be right back after I check my parts room. Okay, so I may have found a solution to get SLI into this rig and see what it can do. And well, it involved me stealing cannibalizing more parts out of my old XP tower, which absolutely sucks because I was really wanting to run benchmarks against these two. So I might have to do that in a separate video, is to be able to compare the two once I get a new cooler for this one and put that cooler back in. Anyway, went to my parts room and I grabbed all of the 8800 GTSs that I know I had, and I put them all into slot 1 here, and only one booted and posted, and that was this EVGA. I mean, come on, I'm using EVGA board, EVGA card. Makes sense. 800 GTS. It just booted and posted and worked just fine. Until I looked on the back. This is a 8800 GTS 640 megabyte SSC, meaning that this has more VRAM than the slimline one that I was using. It's just this one's the older classic design. This one's more streamlined, reduced cost design. Less VRAM here, but if I remember correctly, I think this stuff's clocked a little bit higher, so it would have been a little bit faster. Regardless, this would be perfect. And then I remembered that there was an 8800 GTS in my old XP machine, hence me stealing more parts out of it, which is, I guess, a thing. And I completely forgot that this was also a 640 megabyte variant of the 8800 GTS, and it's also an overclocked variant. Now, the neat thing is with these two cards, because this is a later SLI setup, they don't have to be perfectly 100% identical. That was a problem with early SLI setups, but later ones from this era, as long as they're the same die, chip, and all that kind of stuff, they will actually match the clocks of the slowest one and run SLI from that. So if I put two 640 megabyte 8800 GTSs in this rig, I'll be running like about 1.2 gigabytes of video memory, which doesn't sound like all that much right now, but considering this was Windows XP era, this is actually quite a bit of RAM. Especially this is actually more RAM total than the 8800 Ultras that were out. So I don't know how well it compares. I don't have an Ultra, but let's get these popped in and see if it'll post with them both in there. All right, so I've got the PC case back in its correct orientation with both of the 8800 GTSs right here in the correct SLI slots. I kind of thought for a second there this middle one was the correct one, but then after I double checked the manual just in case, you know, oh, well, maybe I had the other two GTs in the wrong slot. Nope, it's this bottom slot and this top slot. With the SLI bridge, no hard drive right now because I just want to see if it'll at least boot and post with all of this stuff here. So, yeah, see if it does. Uh-oh. All right. All right. Okay, so we got past all this. Verifying boot from CD. There's no CD in there, I don't think. Nope. All right. So we're posted. So I'm going to shut this thing down and install Windows XP onto the Raptor hard drive. All right, get this installed into the correct orientation. Kind of sucks I don't have any extra rails so I can install more drives in here. That's just one of the reasons why I'm not running this in RAID. All right, let's go get XP installed. Okay, moment of truth. All right, so I already had this all installed. I installed the Service Pack 3 stuff and some games and benchmarks, so let's see how it goes. And I even switched my keyboard color to green. Yeah, this is not the keyboard I'm going to use, but it's fine. I have a future plan for this. Your computer may be at risk. All right, so we got click some message to go to multiple display setup and set focus display as primary display. Oh, cool. Not accelerated by SLI. Awesome. So we have the, all right, so over here we have the dual LAN connects, which are both unconnected. We have the standard volume. I believe that's a, yeah, Realtek Audio Manager. NVIDIA control panel. Let's enable SLI because I want to do some benchmarking. All right, and here in the SLI setup, we just click on Maximum 3D Performance and bam, dual GPUs ready to game and benchmark. So you can see I've got a few games on here. I got Oblivion, Fallout 3, Crisis, and Fear. So, but first, let's run some benchmarks. So I got a result of 188.5 frames per second. Awesome. Alright, let's get this side panel hooked up. Oh yeah. Okay, so now that all of the holidays are done and things are cleaned up, picked up, and put away, I can get back to working on this. And as you can see behind me, this thing has turned out phenomenally well. It's running amazingly. It looks amazing. I love the way it looks and the way it turned out. Even though this is not nearly the direction I was kind of wanting this video to go, especially in terms of hardware. The software is fine. Like, I wanted to do an XP build, like I did do a poll, and it was between an XP, a 386, and a vlog video, and the XP video won. But yeah, like I said earlier with the intro and earlier in the video, I had some hardware problems, hardware failures, and some such that caused me to, well, basically grab my big notebook of future video ideas and go way back into it and pull this one out, which is, yeah, I wanted to do an SLI build, but I just didn't want to do another Core 2 PCI based video so soon after this one. But either way, it turned out very, very well, and it gives me an opportunity to be able to test both of these machines side by side to see what parts that I might have been able to afford back in the day with some luxuries that I put in this one, obviously, and what there was been no way that I could have afforded back in the day compared, you know, performance-wise. I can already tell it's much more powerful than this other one. It runs games a lot better. I'm pretty sure it burns up a lot more power though, so yeah, there's there's that. I mean, I am running a much more powerful CPU, much more powerful board, and two 8800 GTS 640 megabyte variants, which are not power efficient in any capacity. So yeah, this thing had some hardware faults too, but I was able to overcome it, especially by stealing some parts out of this one, which now means I can't do one of the ideas I had for this video part of the way through, which was I wanted to benchmark both of these side by side using two nearly identical monitors, so same resolutions, and just see what the scores would be as they run side by side. But unfortunately, because the cooler turned out that I picked up turned out to have the wrong mounting point, which is weird because, well, the mounting point was fine. It was the back plate for it that was way wrong. It was way too thick. I think that you saw earlier in the video, and I mean I couldn't use that cool tower cooler, which I did look up the part number on that. That's from a Dell OEM machine. I think it had the 750 SLI board, but in a similar configuration, so I don't know why. You know, it's from the era. I don't know why that backplate wouldn't work in this machine. And then also with the 8800 GT here being dead, meant I couldn't run SLI unless I stole the GPU out of this as well on top of the cooler. So unfortunately, I can't run these side by side, and unfortunately, I didn't have enough foresight to record any benchmarks with this one before I tore it apart to compare to this one. So that's going to be a future endeavor for this machine. Speaking of future plans for the this tower here, and involves getting this tower brought back online, is I have been searching on eBay. I have found that there's a new old stock, like a batch of them anyway, of coolers for the LGA 775 Core 2 Extreme 9650, which is just the overclocked variant, I guess, of the 9650 that I used in here, so I can really push the machine if I wanted to, if I picked up that CPU, which is still a little pricey. But yeah, it's got a copper core slug just like this one, so it should keep this bigger CPU a lot cooler as well. That way I can put this CPU cooler back into this machine and get this one back up and running. Then I can put in, what my plan is anyway, is to take the original 640 megabyte 800 out of that, put back in this one, all the benchmarks I ran on this one, and then swap the GPU out for the 8800 GT 512 megabyte here, and then see how it compares in terms of graphical performance. And with that, I also have not shown any gameplay footage besides the benchmarking suites with this machine, mainly because I want to run the games side by side on these two machines in a future video. Like I said, I want to see what the performance is real world, not just synthetic benchmarks, and I don't want to take parts out of here to put in here, get this one running again, run benchmarks, run games, record gameplay, and then put it all back in here and record gameplay. And Honestly, it would just be a lot easier to order the parts I need, get this one back up and running, hook them up side by side, and gauntlet them in a lot of ways. Something else I want to do with this machine is even though I do have different cooling fans in here, something cool I kind of want to do, because this is basically all NVIDIA at this point. I want to buy a couple of the green LED 120mm fans for the back, side, and there's a spot in here for the front. So that way when it powers up, it just glows green, which I think would look really cool, especially, like I said, since everything's NVIDIA in here, minus the minus the sound card and the CPU, obviously. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I think it would look kind of cool. It's probably it would help performance. I mean, it might a little bit with cooling if I have a front fan, but yeah, that's a future thing for this thing. Once I get things settled a little bit with all the holiday stuff that had just happened. Something that did surprise me about this entire build, though, was the Benchmark's performance suites, and kind of an interesting thing that happened when I was doing that. Whether I ran 4 gig sticks, or the 4 sticks of the Platinum RAM or the SLI RAM, I did get reduced performance when I ran all 4 sticks. When I swapped it back down to 2 sticks, I was also really surprised that the SLI RAM did perform better, like I showed, than the Platinum RAM, even though they're nearly identical. Same clock speeds, same amount, they're the same latencies. Everything's almost identical as far as I can tell, and as far as I can even tell even further from doing some digging, they use the exact same RAM chip, so maybe the SLI RAM thing isn't a gimmick. I've heard it was a gimmick and it had no performance impact, but I did see a little bit better performance using the twin sticks of NVIDIA's SLI RAM, which is what's currently in here. With that, something I did notice, though, when I was running the benchmarks, I didn't notice it right away until I was paying more closer attention to some things. When I had all 4 sticks of RAM basically loaded up the machine, it only reported 2.5 gigabytes of RAM, even though when it booted, it detected all 4 sticks, which I thought was weird. Why is it showing way less RAM? And yes, 32-bit XP only can use 3.5 gigabytes of RAM, but that's still a whole gig, missing. And it kind of took me a while to realize that the reason for that discrepancy was because I'm running twin video cards. Specifically the fact that these are both loaded up to run 1.2 gigabytes of VRAM, which is technically addressable RAM. So that's where I believe anyway, where my RAM is going, because when I loaded up all 4 sticks and I pulled one of the video cards out, it did jump back up to having 3.5 gigabytes of addressable RAM. So technically this only has 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is half of what my original XP Tower here has. But performance-wise, this one is way better. Now, obviously, I didn't benchmark this machine with this machine's RAM because I had already ran like 4 or 5 benchmarks using the other 2 RAMs, and it's, yeah, anyway. But anyway, with that being said, thank you all for watching this video. Really hope you enjoyed it. This is probably going to be the first video of 2025, which was not my intention. I kind of wanted to have this out before the end of 2024, but with the holidays and stuff, I just did not get a chance to get down here to record anything. I do have some parts on my eBay cart and Amazon cart for this thing to get this thing fully 100% done the way I want it, including the green LED cooling fans and the different cooler, so I can get this one back up and running, so I can put a gauntlet through them and see which one's more powerful. I know the answer to that already, but I'm kind of curious to see what the spread would be on the power performance anyway. Put down in the comments your thoughts or anything about either one of these machines, any games you want to see when I run the gauntlet on these 2. Put them down below, and if I can get my hands on them, I will absolutely bench them with those games. So you're going to be seeing both of these machines again in the future, and hopefully things go well with those videos. So again, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.